The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during that interview was that mug. And nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. A nice testimony. Clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Ah, shucks. You really think so?
I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your final cross-examination. Right. I still have one trump card left to play. I won't let this trial end until I use it. That doesn't prove Vera poisoned it.
Objection!
How many times have we heard that on her forehead? The poison beat its victim via that coffee mug. And from where did the coffee come, huh? Not to beat a dead horse again and again, perhaps you could fill us in?
I'm not a need a horse beat, I'm your man.
Hold it!
And you witnessed her pouring this coffee.
Of course I didn't witness it. When she came in with that tray, the coffee was already poured and steaming. Let us not forget the defendant has admitted to pouring the coffee herself. I heard her statement. I pour, I served, and I killed. What? The last part was a little joke.
I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with this coffee mug. Need to find another weak spot in the case. You sure about that?
Well, to be really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time.
Objection!
One of those candies might have been poisoned.
Yet, at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room, or no mint residue was found.
That was a long shot anyway.
Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee?
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof... The possibility's there. I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it. Not yet. And possibility isn't going to cut it. Not now. Mr. ingested that poison Vera root other than the coffee. Proof is possible.
I've got to risk it.
Oh, excellent. Let's see your proof then. Please show us your evidence. What evidence shows the victim wasn't poisoned via his coffee mug?
Take that!
Oh dear. Must I explain this over and over and over? We don't need possibilities here, her forehead, we need proof.
I know that.
You should also know that every proof has its moment, perhaps a bit early.
I can tell you what we know at this point. The victim put nothing to his mouth but that coffee mug. Another hole in the case that needs plugging before I can prove anything. First things first, I better uncover a weak spot before I try and strike again. On with the cross-examination. Not one thing. You're sure?
Yep, sure as can be. Well, with one exception.
One exception? What?
Journalist Bob Burchell's interview, leave studio, end quote.
God, I fucking hate you.
Come on! It's a joke, get it? Not funny, I know, but still.
Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Have I heard something like that before? Now we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to turn our defence attorney before returning to the testimony. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night? I think one thing might well have left the studio that night, actually. A certain something that has vanished from the crime scene. By which you mean something other than our witness? Of course.
Don't tell me. Vera missing?
Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional. And let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows how it could have been taken from the scene.
Take that!
This is the only link between that studio and the outside world. A letterbox? What did Mr. Brushall just tell us? When he entered the studio the night of the murder, the victim just finished writing a letter.
Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true.
Furthermore, he went on to tell us he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put that in a letterbox. Ah! But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night the yellow envelope disappeared.
Ah, yeah, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene as a crime. Of course, this changes nothing.
Here's a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Missum. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared? If it did disappear, then somebody did leave the studio that night, which seems very important to me. Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony. You got it!
I still think this has to change anything, her forehead.
I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. It's exactly the opening I've been looking for.
Hold it!
Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio. And you were hiding that fact from us.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't argue the possibility that a letter disappeared from the studio. But her forehead, isn't that a much more serious question before us?
Right. How Mr. Missum was poisoned, I know. And Mr. Brushall's testimony has changed, which means that the facts of the case have too. And what he's told me means something entirely different now, I'm starting to think. Let's keep thinking, Apollo.
Hold it!
You say clearly as though it were obvious. But this claim the defendant poisoned the victim is mere conjecture.
Yes, well, you see, in my business it's all about making the most ridiculous things sound right. A bad habit, I know. Yes, well, actually, I guess it's more a case of ridiculous journalist sounds wrong, end quote.
The court is forced to agree with you. Please refrain from wild conjecture.
Understood loud and clear.
Oh, if only I could believe that.
What do you think, Apollo? Everything you're saying seems so not flawed.
Well, that's kind of what you want from a testimony, really. I need to keep my eye on what matters. How and why was Drew Mission killed? If Vera poured the coffee, that's not going to change. But if that coffee didn't kill him, I need to find what did improve it. I think that worked. I have no idea how to answer this.
Objection!
Ah. No, I've got no idea with this one. I need to look the answer, I'm afraid. Turns out they subverted the whole fucking thing.
Hold it! Objection!
Gotta go through this line again. You don't understand what we need, yeah?
proof, her forehead, not possibilities.
Of course, and Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof.
What did you say?
I have proof of the disappearing envelope.
I saw him write a letter, I did.
Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume. Of course, which means the envelope had a stamp on it. A stamp? Ah. As we all know, stamps come with dry glue on the back. In order to use the glue, we have to wet it by licking the stamp.
Objection!
No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age.
Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all.
Okay, so he licked a stamp. But wait, how does it explain was the Atocreon's room of the coffee mug?
If he licked the back of a poisoned stamp, the poison gets on his tongue, yes? What then happens if you put the coffee mug into his mouth, Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing, it was the other way around. What? The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Missum. Mr. Missum poisoned the coffee mug himself. Order! 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 But that doesn't... does it? Recall if you would. Atraquine is a slow-acting poison, yeah? The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on the envelope. But his time went up until the very moment he touched the lips to that cup of joe. You have something to add, Mr. Brushell? Oh, his nose picking up another scent.
As I believe I mentioned earlier, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one.
Maybe he just ran out.
Incidentally, if you search the desk drawer at the crime, there were no stamps, not a single one.
That does pose a problem. How do you prove that the stamp was coated with poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible.
Good show, good show. You can't even put those a stamp at the scene in the first place.
Well, let's hear what the defense has to say anyway. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this poison stamp?
Take that!
Well, it's certainly a cute little frame, and by little I mean really little.
It was on the victim's desk.
It was on the victim's desk, Your Honour. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself.
I noticed too during my inspection, so what?
Apparently not as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important. Missing something? Yes. The pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Atraquine used.
What? I wasn't told about this.
Whoops. The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller, maybe 1 inch wide at the most.
You aren't saying.
Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps? Order! Order! The poison stamp was in this frame?
Impossible.
Prosecutor Gavin?
Finally put something like that on his desk. Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mud stuck. You know, can I say something? I had a thought, see?
What, Mr. Brushall? And please stop chitting around like that.
The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too, end quote.
So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him.
Objection!
Oh, Vitch, that's Vitch. Leaves ridiculous fighter fancies to the Gaviner's song lyrics, please. Finally, something we agree on. The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense. Murder's a simple business. Who've got to such lengths? No one. Do you have any idea what fucking series you're in, mate? Oh, I disagree. Come again. Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Drew missed a mid from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. The mail? Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you knew read letters, a stamp would be a perfect weapon. Ridiculous. There's your proof. I want proof. Show us evidence the poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. I might not have evidence per se, but things are finally starting to come together. What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling. I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Miston was killed. Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice. A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honour. Oh, excuse me. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill Mr. Miston sent the stamp of death. Enclosed stamp.
Take that!
Isn't this the envelope from 7 years ago? Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honour.
In other words, if I have this straight, the stamp, poison, on the stamp, lick, gas, end quote.
Now what if he'd done exactly as the letter asked? He'd signed the document, put it in the envelope and put the stamp on it, right? Then he'd put it in his letterbox. 15 minutes won't elapse between fixing the stamp and mailing the letter, but the clock started ticking when the time came. He drew his last breath. And the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system.
Such a splendid imagination you have, Herr Forehead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago, yeah? Is that what you would have us believe, really?
Well, it's a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility.
Yeah, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in the envelope, the stamp that became the murder weapon? How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence?
Well, it was 7 years ago, and we don't even know who sent the letter.
And your answer is silence, I see. Very well. I move to... It's not nice to pick on the 4-line cop there. Huh? Emma? Well, like my Christoph Gavin impression. Did I sound like him? Don't quit your day job. Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, 4-line detective? Someone have to come dig out the mess you're making of this case. Mess? You know, no, that's what happened if you just trusted science a little more. You can find out if the stamp was in the envelope easy. Can't explain yourself, 4-line detective. Correct me all you want, but science is on my side. It's on the residue, right? That's right, the poison detection spray. Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court. Oh, would you look at that? No mistake in it. That's Atroniki residue. I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past. Now, 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last. Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't the murder take place 7 years ago? Well, there's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Misson figured it out. Figured what out? He realised the person who sent the letter wanted him dead, so he sent his reply with a different stamp. Put the side of evidence in a frame. You're still here? Can I make a statement here on the record? I sparked Razor Brushel, claimed this scoop as mine. Drew Mission killed in cold blood by sender of a 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more distinct. Star Force to 7-year delay, end quote. Order! Order! I see no room for further argument here, for I admit it's all coming as quite a shock to think the murder weapon reached the mouth after 7 years. Stamp his ticket to straight afterlife, end quote. Uh-oh, I think the witness is a bad influence on the judge. I see no need for further debate on the matter. The sender of the letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant. Apollo! I think we just won. Very well. This court finds the defendant...
Objection!
Is this a bite fuel to our legal system? Prosecutor Gavin? A ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago? Tickets for Gavin that shows are invalid after 2 weeks. That doesn't make sense any other way. It boggles my mind that many people haven't noticed this. There's a fatal contradiction in her forehead's claim. A contradiction? A poison stamp was placed in the envelope 7 years ago. Thereupon it was feigned until now. If that's the case, why would Drew Misham have done what he did? Eric explained that he must have realised it was poisoned. Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, as a forger sends the trap and puts a stamp in a frame. I do not debate this, but it begs the question. Why 7 years later did he use the stamp on the night of the murder? Surely you don't mean to suggest Mr. Misson simply forgot. He put the murder weapon on a frame on his desk for 7 years and forgot.
You expect us to believe he's spraying the trap on himself? Well, I admit this is all quite shocking myself. It does seem highly unlikely he would fall afoul of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years.
Apollo, I don't think we're winning anymore.
I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you. Okay, how do you explain the poison stamp in the envelope? It's a poison stamp. Where exactly is the poison stamp again, Have you brought it to the court first? I see no proof such thing ever existed. What about the atropine residue, eh? I agree, it does seem to be atropine residue. But her forehead is certainly no stamp. Yeah, but even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Doom Mister never would have used it. That is all. I believe we come to a conclusion again.
Apollo, were we wrong the whole time?
I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be a coincidence. I'd like to bring some closure to the issue sometime this year. Mr. Justice. Yes, Your Honour. Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Misson received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atropine on the document inside the envelope. A similar trace was found at the crime scene on this tiny picture frame. The offences indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope, an envelope that left the crime scene with the poison stamp on it. Yeah, but even if the envelope contains a poison stamp, there's no stamp on it. Andrew Massim, knowing this, put it in a frame. Andrew Massim, knowing this, put it in a frame. He never would have used a stamp. I'm afraid you're right. What this means is there's a fatal flaw in the defence's case. I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time, I'm sure of it. The trace of an atropine, the envelope, the frame, Andrew Mrs. Campea. They're all connected somehow. Well, Mr. Justice, you have a conclusion for us? The defence stands by its case, Your Honour. We've seen the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense. Which means that one of our clues must be fake. Ah, a fake clue. Fascinating. And if we find the fake, your wild fantasies will prove reasonable, yeah? The fake clue that throws off the poison's trial is none other than... The victim's a fake clue. I'm afraid I don't understand. I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself. Congratulations, you completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger? It makes a good story, I'll give you that. Fake clue, fakes, forgeries. Aha! I know that face. That's the I just had an idea face. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake? Come again. 7 years ago, our forger sifted the trap and stepped aside. 7 years pass. Now the forger stumbles into the very same trap and dies. Why? That's what I want to know. Because the forger who was killed was a fake. Here we are again. The victim was a fake. One forger smelled the trap, one forger fell into the trap. That's 2 forgers, and one of them was a fake. Order! 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 So you're telling us that Dormer Sims, the victim, was a fake? Well, if he was a fake, who's the real forger? You better not be claiming there's some kind of switcheroo. I'm afraid you're going to have to back up your story, Mr. Justice. Show us just who the real Drew Misham was. If Drew Misham wasn't the real forger, there's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honour. Forger Drew Misham was himself a forgery. The real forger was... I mean, it has to be, right? There can only be one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Misham is none other than his only daughter, Vera Misham. Order! 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 Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb even for you! I can't agree. I mean, Vera, a forger? Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in the studio for quite some time. The forgery wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually that does make a certain kind of sense. One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Missam's and Vera Missam's. If we know that Drew Misham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility by process of elimination. The forger was Vera Misham. Well... fascinating. Vera Misham? You've been paying attention to the trial so far? Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger? Drew Misham? Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin. I'm used to being stared at by 4 lines, believe me. For they usually talk to me too. Tell us, for you're the one who forged the works of art? Yes. So the forger Drew Misham was you? Yes, it was me. What? The court was in an uproar and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess.